The president is too old. He simply lacks at his very advanced age the mental acuity and the physical stamina to withstand the many rigors of the office. It is an unconscionably selfish act for him to be seeking a second term. In fact, we should have a law, nay, a constitutional amendment saying presidents of such an advanced age should be prohibited from running for re-election. What guarantee do we have that this decrepit old codger will still even be alive 4 years from now? Where did we hear these criticisms? Are they criticisms that have been directed at the current president, the newly 81-year-old Joe Biden, who doesn't look or act a day over 106? No, they are not. And if you're old enough to remember 1984, you probably already know where I'm going with this. For those were all criticisms we heard that year from the news media about the 73-year-old incumbent President Ronald Reagan, and they didn't just start saying it in 1984 either. They were saying it all the way back in 1980 when Reagan was only 69. A 69-year-old president? Pfft, that'll be the day. And why were they saying it? Well, I can answer that question in 4 words. Jimmy Carter and Walter freaking Mondale. I guess that's 5 words. Which is to say, if it's an election year in which your party has saddled itself with an astoundingly weak, totally underwhelming candidate who's a black hole of charisma, incapable of generating any sort of voter enthusiasm, there's really no good play except to attack the guy you're running against. Like when you say Donald Trump will destroy democracy if he's reelected and he's basically indistinguishable from Hitler and Mussolini. No overheated rhetoric there, ladies and gentlemen, just sober, dispassionate journalisming. So while there's absolutely nothing new under the sun in U.S. presidential politics, there did used to be more of a sense of a veneer of subtlety with this stuff, right up until Trump came along and permanently broke everyone's brain. Now, for those keeping score at home, 73 is 9 years younger than 82, which is the age Joe Biden will be on Election Day 2024, which is just another way of saying the mainstream news media being congenital liars who are totally in the tank for the Democrats is by no means a recent development. It's been going on for many decades, in fact. The only thing that happened in 2016 was that they dropped the mask and abandoned any last fleeting pretense of journalistic integrity. So let's review, because there will be a pop quiz on Monday morning. 73-year-old Ronald Reagan, old, tired, decrepit, enfeebled, confused, geriatric, 1 foot in the grave. 81-year-old Joe Biden, reliable, seasoned, experienced, dignified, time-tested, a steady hand on the tiller with all the youthful vigor of a man half his age. This message brought to you by the people who still wonder why you call them fake news. From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where I don't think Joe Biden's age disqualifies him from the presidency, I think the fact that he's Joe Biden disqualifies him from the presidency. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to the program. I'm your eponymous host and humble servant. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it's my regrettable duty to report to you a homophobic hate crime. Sorry, an alleged homophobic hate crime. I lost track of where the report originated exactly, but YouTube's been buzzing about it all day. So let's state right here at the outset that this is an unconfirmed, unverified rumor and should thus be taken with a grain of salt. But having said that, it does sound pretty believable. And for the purposes of this segment, let's just act like it's true and verified, because it'll be more fun that way. Now, for it seems the homophobic hate-mongering monsters at the Walt Disney Company, believe it or not, shockingly, they have straightwashed Captain Marvel. I know, it's a lot to take in, but you're not alone. We'll get through this thing together. And I suppose I need to give a second disclaimer here, for it's contrary to my normal practice to be talking about the Marvels for a third time. If I'm being honest, I felt kind of weird talking about it the first and second times, given my own congenital aversion to reaching for the low-hanging comedic fruit. And the Marvels, shit, that's about as low-hanging as comedic fruit can get, without falling on the damn ground like it was Joe Biden. So the last thing I ever planned on was to bring up this same topic for a third consecutive episode. But I trust you'll agree that the need for reporting and exposing monstrous homophobic hate crimes trumps any such trifling concerns on my own part. So the plan was, apparently, that they were going to make Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, an official member of Rug Munchers Anonymous. But wait, I hear you say. Wasn't that character already about as lesbian as a character can be? Well, yes. Yes, she was. I mean, didn't she headline an entire origin story movie in which there wasn't even the slightest hint of a male love interest, wherein the one male character who expresses a romantic interest in her gets beaten up and his clothes and motorcycle stolen? Well, yes, she did. And just in case anybody wasn't getting the hit, didn't they have her show up in Avengers Endgame with a haircut that no woman has ever had who wasn't a dues-paying member of Team Pillow Humper? Why, yes, they did. Which is to say, it's not like making her officially gay in the new picture would have been going out on very much of a limb, but that evidently is just what happened. So let's run through the gory details. Oh, I haven't seen the picture, obviously, but as I understand it, at a certain point during the proceedings, Valkyrie shows up. You remember Valkyrie, former commander of the Asgardian cavalry. Do you still call it cavalry when the horses fly? Discuss in the comments. We met her in Thor Ragnarok when she was a bitter, angry drunk on living on the trash planet. Then she becomes king of New Asgard in Avengers Endgame. And why would you call a female character king unless it was a dog whistle for lesbians? Discuss in the comments. She is played by the incomparably talented Tessa Thompson, one of the most versatile thespians of this or any other era, capable of credibly portraying an unsurpassedly wide range of human feelings and emotions. Just look, here's her sad face. Here's her happy face. Here's her angry face. Here's her contemplative face. And here's her romantic face. And I could keep going, but I think you get the point. Now, why an actress of such incredible range hasn't yet won her first Oscar? Unclear. But I'm thinking probably racism. So Valkyrie shows up in the Marvels randomly out of the blue, and she's wearing a men's three-piece suit? Now, what in the name of Marlena Dietrich is going on here? You guys, I think you should lean a little bit harder into the Valkyrie is gay thing without just coming out and saying it. Maybe have her come out in jeans and work boots with a big giant keyring on her belt. I don't know. I mean, the subtlety level wouldn't be much different is all I'm saying. So the better part of a decade has been spent, because Ragnarok came out in, 2017, and Captain Marvel 2 years later, establishing that these two female characters are, how shall we say, not unduly burdened by physical attraction toward the opposite sex. So apparently the whole point of this awkward, incongruous, narratively pointless appearance by suit-wearing Valkyrie was to confirm once and for all for the official record that she and Captain Marvel not only prefer riding the hobby horse with other chicks, but at some indeterminate point in the past, they rode the hobby horse with one another. And I'm just going to let that sit in your brain there for a moment. The image of Brie Larson making hot, sloppy love to another woman. You're welcome. So in the original cut of the picture, which apparently was the final cut right up until practically the last minute, there were a couple of lines in this scene, since that was the whole point of shooting the scene in the first place, that would have established canonically for all time that Valkyrie and Captain Marvel are estranged former lesbian lovers. But for a company that in recent years has prided itself so maniacally on the promotion and celebration of all things sexually non-normative, Disney seems at the same time strangely timid about actually pulling the lesbian trigger, because why shoot the scene in such a way that you can trim out 2 or 3 lines and remove all the gayness? Because you're not sure you really want to do it? Because you want to retain the option of getting rid of the whole lesbian thing if you start getting cold feet about it? Well, it turns out they did start getting cold feet, if these reports are to be believed. And what caused their reticence? An episode of South Park. Now, I haven't seen the South Park episode in question because I don't watch cartoons, but it's been hard not to notice the extent to which it's broken the internet and caused convulsions of sheer terror up in the ivory towers of Hollywood. And I am familiar with the bits that have rightly gone viral, particularly the bit where Kathy Kennedy makes every creative decision by saying, "Put a chick in it! Make it lame and gay!" Which, in all fairness, probably isn't that far from the actual reality. But wait, I hear you say, doesn't Kathy Kennedy have nothing to do with Marvel? Isn't she too busy wrecking Star Wars? And while the answer to both of those questions is an emphatic yes. Apparently the whole woke Disney empire was shaken to its very foundations by South Park poking a bit of fun at their shitty movies, which begs the question, how is it that we're this far into the woke Hollywood era and South Park hasn't touched it up until now? And I suppose the second question is begged also. Just how far removed from reality are these studio heads and executive types that they need a South Park episode to help them understand how their products are actually viewed by the public at large? Like, did they really not know any of this? Because that seems extremely difficult to believe. But according to this report, that's exactly what happened. Kathy Kennedy's South Park doppelganger declaring, "Put a chick in it, make it lame and gay," sent such seismic shockwaves through the entire Disney organization that it even made Kevin Feige freak out over at Marvel Studios. He picked up the phone and said, "Get me Nia DaCosta." And then his receptionist says, yeah, about that. She actually fucked off and flew to London to start working on her next picture. And Feige says, wait, what? Aren't we only like halfway done with post-production on the Marvels? And the receptionist says, yes, sir, she actually left in quite a big hurry. I heard her muttering something about wanting to get as far away as possible from this awful piece of shit. And Feige says, do you think she was talking about the movie or about me? And the receptionist says, sir, I just work here, and I would prefer to keep my job. And Feige says, fine, the hell with it. Forget about Nia. I need you to get me the name of whoever's in charge of the picture now, so I can tell them we're nuking those lines where Valkyrie and Carol Danvers confirm that they're gay lovers. And the receptionist says, sir, I know this is above my pay grade, but wasn't confirming that those two characters are former gay lovers the whole point of shooting and writing that scene in the first place? And Feige says, yes. Yes, it was, but this South Park scene's really got everybody freaked out up at Mouse House Corporate HQ. I got a call this morning from Bob fucking Iger himself saying I need to go through all the Marvel content and make it less lame and gay. And I told him, Bob, I said, have you seen the rough cuts of the Marvels? If you want it to be less lame, I'm afraid we're going to have to shit can the whole picture. But less gay, that I can do. I can ungay this thing in 5 minutes flat. And then Bob Iger says, speaking of things that are flat, can you talk to the CGI department about maybe drawing an ass on Brie Larson? And then Feige says, Bob, come on, these guys are artists, not miracle workers. You want me to put an ass on Brie Larson? You're looking at maybe a $40 million budget overrun, at least a 2-week production hiatus, and there is no way the end result will be convincing enough to warrant all the effort. And then Iger says, okay, fine. You make a series of valid points. You can wish upon a star for a lot of things, but an ass on Brie Larson just ain't one of them, I guess. But damn it, Kevin, I am serious here. I want you to ungay that picture pronto. And then Feige says, sir, consider it done. I'm going to call our wonderful, talented director, Nia DaCosta, just as soon as we get off the phone. And then Iger says, yes. She sure is wonderful and talented. And have you noticed that she's a strong, powerful, queer woman of color who don't need no man for nothing? And then Feige says, you know, sir, no, actually, it never occurred to me up until you brought it up just now. I hired her purely for her fine skills as a screenwriter and filmmaker, and her strong track record of professional achievement. Honestly, I never thought to ask her if she was a strong, powerful, queer woman of color who don't need no man for nothing. And then the receptionist says, are you done with your bullshit story, sir? Because I think I've got the phone number. Apparently the person now in charge of the production is the associate deputy caterer's assistant, a gentleman by the name of Jose Jimenez. Apparently everybody else on the crew has abandoned the picture and scrubbed it from their resume. In fact, the second AD was even heard to say, having this picture on your resume is going to be like having your name on the fucking sex offender registry. And then Feige says, associate deputy caterer's assistant? Jesus, no wonder the end credits take 20 goddamn minutes. Okay then, dial the number, get me Mr. Jimenez. And then Jose Jimenez says, hola Jimenez Catering, en que puedo ayudarte? And then Feige says, yeah, do you speak English? And Jose says, un poco? And then Feige says, great, I need you to stop what you're doing, go into the editing bay, cue up the dialogue track, take out the lines where Carol and Valkyrie are gay for each other. And then Jose says, ¿Quién es? Who is this? And then Feige says, Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios. And then Jose says, oh, okay, I remember you. So you wanting the chicas to be no más lesbianas? Okay, Mr. Kevin, I fix for you. And then Feige says, awesome, thanks, Jose. And I'm going to personally see to it that you get promoted from Associate Deputy Caterer's Assistant to Deputy Caterer's Assistant on the next picture. And then Jose says, well, say what? Why are you wanting the chicas to be no más lesbianas? And then Feige says, it's a long story, Jose. Let's just say there was this fucking cartoon that came out and they made fun of us and it came at the worst possible time. So Bob Iger told me I have to take all the gay out of this scene that I only shot for the purposes of gayness. And then Jose says, oh, I see. Though I am only a humble associate deputy caterer's assistant. And though I thought the lesbian romance was beautiful and touching, I am happy to help you manipulate the audio and straightwash the scene. Even though it's going to be the lesbianest scene in history where the characters aren't actually gay for each other, I'm just glad you didn't ask me to do something difficult. Like put an ass on Brie Larson. And then the host says, thank you very much indeed for watching. Have a splendiferous day and a delightful, edifying tomorrow. Stay tuned for a brand new parody song coming up before Thanksgiving. Spoiler alert, it's a Tom Petty number from 1989, and it's about a thing Joe Biden often does. Also, last thing before I go, for some people, 22 November is JFK Assassination Day, but for me, speaking of 1989, it's also the day that I started going steady with the future Lady Curmudgeon. So I want you to go immediately down to the comments and tell me I look freakishly young to have been in the same relationship for 34 years. Whether you mean it or not. See you next time. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.